Did we do it?
Oh, we're good?
Yeah, we're on.
We're good. Because
Now,
there definitely should be some mature audiences.
Yeah. Hold on.
And it's not for them. Well, then fuck. We're fucked.
Oh, what is this doing?
I don't know, but you told me mature audiences, so.
All right, give me just one moment
I
here.
don't know, but you told me mature audiences, so.
All right, give me just one moment here.
I don't know, but you one moment.
Oh yeah, we're live for sure.
Oh, we're live. You got a
Yeah,
mature
we're live.
audience with your podcast. Aaron, tell me what to do.
I think at this point we just continue what we were talking about, and
so what were we talking about?
Fuck, what were we talking about? We're talking about saving the world. We're talking about important things. We were getting into politics, gerrymandering, and then we got into the last thing was about talking to kids in lower income housing, or just lower income, like backgrounds.
Yeah, I mean the reality is it's not. Well, there's many parts of what you said. So the first part is who should be president, right? And when it comes to that, I have very simple values. Who would I want to work for? Do I want to work for somebody that lies insinuously, or somebody that's old as shit and may stumble over his words? And I would go with the latter. So beyond that, when it comes to the kids, yeah, man, I don't know.
Me and Chris Black used to have a thing. I mean, it was never actually a thing. We just said it like one time when we were drunk. we were plotting like our our takeover of the world, and
right.
how we were gonna, in a good way, of course, right?
Of course, you wouldn't take over the world in a bad way.
But we had a slogan, and it was "Do it for the kids."
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the track that we were getting on when we were talking about that before is like, I don't know, there's those kids. It's like, in 10 years, like they're gonna be out in the world. They're gonna have to deal with some fucking crazy fucked up shit, and I think first of all, like podcasts, like this kind of shit these days is probably one of the best ways to potentially actually like get in front of them, get your voice to be heard. So what are you going to tell them, Kyle? What do you want to say?
Well, that's one voice, and the voice that I want to say is that just treat people equal. I mean, it's a simple thing. It's a convoluted idea, but it's a simple thing. You see somebody that's black, white, brown, doesn't really matter. But the reality of America right now is that just because you see it one way makes you perceive it another way. And I think that's it's such a simple idea, but at the same time, so many people have fought for it over a whole lifetime. And for something that's so convoluted and something that's so strenuous and has been fought for again for so long, it comes down to such a simple idea, which is we're all equal. And I don't know. That's just, I'm about to have a baby myself and a daughter myself, and all I want her to know is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like I said to many people, I'm colorblind. Doesn't matter what color they are, where they came from. I want to learn from you. I want to know from you. I want to know what you've been through. But beyond that, who gives a fuck what color you are? And that's the values that I want my daughter to live through. That's the values that I would want anybody to live through. Simple as that. It's very a simple idea.
So it sounds like you're still like holding some space for understanding what that person's experience is. Like, yeah, you're saying, you want to be, or you like what you want to pass down is this idea of colorblindness, but you also want to understand that person experience,
Yeah,
especially if that involves, I mean, because like a lot of people's experience is going to be that that's not what they experience. Their life
yeah,
is not
100%.
colorblind. The
I don't
people
want
that
to I don't want a representative to be what color you are, to be respective to what socioeconomic class you are, because that's just not true. Anybody can have a certain economic class depending on what race you are. It really doesn't matter. I met so many people from different races and different cultures that, they're either rich or they're poor. But I met them in embracing to where they taught me to what they've learned because of the situations that they've gone through. But they're rich or poor again, and I think I'm fair to say that I've actually met and learned a lot more from the people that have had hardships, the quote unquote poor people that have served as this world than the people that have born into um, wealth. And not that you're not going to learn people from wealth, because they have the same, not necessarily the same, but different hardships than people that come through poverty. And it's just different. And so just having an open mind, that's what I would want my kid to have, is just an open mind to everything, and to be able to flourish from it, because they're going to learn one thing from a different economic class and the other.
That's a good point. And to the art of being able to like understand what is a lesson to draw from somebody and what is just like their bullshit, right? Because you think about, it's easiest to think about talking with like people that grew up rich, like stereotypically you would say like, oh, they haven't had any hardships, they're out of touch with reality, right?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you something that I just lived with, which was I grew up in a part of town to where, just because I was white and just because I had um I mean, it was a decent sized house, and so everybody thought that I was rich. And in comparison, yeah, I guess someone would think that I was rich. But the reality of it is we were dirt poor. We were debt. Everybody my grandma, who the house that I lived in, she had so much debt up into her eyeballs because that's what she thought that was the American dream, is just to be able to live in something that was, beautiful. But at the same time, she couldn't afford it. And that's something to learn upon, because just because you think that on the outward appearance that something is rich and beautiful, it doesn't mean the same thing. And usually because of that, there's a lot of animosity that becomes, and that's what actually tore my family apart. And not saying that takes anything away from families that are on the poverty line and have to think about what they're going to do for their next meal. But it's just a different perspective of life that you think that, hey, this is looking like a castle, but at the end of the day, there's so much going on behind the facade of a good family that the debt is ripping them apart, and that ripped my family apart to the point that I don't know any of my siblings. I don't know any of my uncles. I don't know any of my aunts because they had all their talons against how much they were going to make against the property, to where never been able to meet them again.
So this was not just your nuclear family. This was like, I mean, you were saying it was your grandma, so then it also affected, I mean, your uncles, I guess you're saying you had aunts and uncles, you had like extended family that were also affected by that?
Yeah, so we lived on a I guess you would call it a farm in New Jersey. So we had two houses on the property. So one being, I guess, the main property, and the other being where my aunt and uncle lived. So long story short, um, the property went on sale, and my grandmother was very sick, and the aunts and the uncles, they wanted their majority of the house, the profits of the house, and it became very um, hostile. So there were a lot of things that happened in the house that you know were different, and long story short, they sold the house for a fraction of what it should be sold for, because it needed to be sold just to appease the family. And so everybody went their separate ways, and we haven't talked since. It's this is different. It's white people problems, honestly.
Mm. Centered, and by that you mean just like centered around money,
Yeah.
and not, I mean, not that other, problems couldn't be, but it's like it's kind of superfluous money at that point.
Right. When I say white people problems, I mean it's just people that are separating apart just because, yeah, of money, and I mean, money will tear anybody apart, but at the same time, there's a lack of culture. There's a lack of meaning into what a household means. It's all about money. From what I learned in different cultures, a household means more than money. It means culture. It means family. It means a sensation of being together. That didn't exist. It was just all about how is the property going to divide and equal to be sold.
Hmm. So yeah, it's like they just forgot, or you just cast aside all of that just for the sake of like just getting this done so they could get the money.
Yeah. The ironic thing is that once I sold it, which, was a bear off of everybody's back, uh, literally a year later, they sold it for 2 times the value. Uh, and whether anybody thought this, or maybe just myself, it was a spit into their face because everybody was such in a rush to get their money. So they wanted to sell it quick and fast to get their money. But if they would have held on to it for a year later, they would have made 2 times the value. It was always just funny to me.
Yeah, value lost, man. Yeah, just because of rushing. Or I think about that a lot. Like right now, it's just because the market's so crazy, and it's like houses are selling all over the place. People are getting above what they're asking for, and
Yeah.
it's like, fuck, man. Try to try to sell my mom's house. Try to sell my dad's condo right now. It's like it's just not the right time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things saying it's not. It's like, damn, no idea what the market's going to be like next year. No idea what it's going to be like in 3 years. You know, especially
Yeah.
considering what we're talking about before. Like the kind of the wave after a presidency. Seeing the actual effects of how things happen. But I don't know. And speaking of that, I think there is quite a bit that you do see immediately, right? Like, I mean, you think that like the stock market reacts like immediately to their impressions of what they think is going to happen, which is crazy to me. It's like, really, dude, like you like our like like literally like millions or billions of dollars hanging in the balance just based on like
It is
the
crazy.
confidence
I mean,
that people have in the president, or the events that are happening. It's not the economy. It's not the actual economy. It's just what people perceive the risk is going to be in the future.
yeah. The funny thing is to me is that obviously with the coronavirus, everybody was nervous, of course, and the stock market actually did pretty well, and especially in certain areas to where you had what would you call it? Home 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 networks where you would be working from home, and that went well. So there was a lot of companies that, especially that are taking off, and besides just you besides just going from home, just the what you would call UCAS. So basically, companies that are non-physical and being able to have their communication companies to be able to be in the cloud. So a lot of those called UCaaS companies. It was a good market. So the funny thing, in full circle of what I'm talking about, is they took off in the market because nobody's going to work from home again. Nobody's ever going to work from home again. And so all these communication companies that are soft service are blowing out of the roof. DocuSign. You know, I don't ever want to sign a document with my own bare hands again. So DocuSign is going off the fucking roof. Okay, cool. It makes sense. I mean, I don't ever want to dip my ink and sign something again. Makes sense. Next thing you know, there's a vaccine. Okay, cool, vaccine. All those companies, they go down 5, 7, 10%. Oh my God, there's a vaccine. Oh shit, there's a vaccine. Anyway, there's a vaccine. They haven't given it to a chimpanzee, but goddamn, there's a vaccine. Everything's going back down. Every single stock market that actually had something. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't work just one way. So you have a DocuSign. This is going to go down 7% because there's a vaccine. The other one, oh man, Carnival Cruise Lines. Goddamn, that's going to go up 10% because there's a vaccine. Really? Okay. Everybody feels confident that they're about to go on a fucking cruise ship. I want to go on a cruise ship. Do you want to go on a cruise ship? Hell no. Because there's a fucking vaccine. No idea. But anyway, Carnival Cruise Line goes up 10%. Cool. The reality of the story is nobody knows what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, I mean, just think about those like DocuSign. I mean, I've used DocuSign. I've also used other just like really fucking simple apps where I just like copy and paste a signature on there. Like, DocuSign, like that's the thing with like so many of these like tech fads is like those things can come and go so quickly because like there's so many like ways that the internet and computers can like work around other things. Like I could find literally like 4 other apps that can do, you know, that the most basic function of DocuSign, you know, like just like getting your signature on something. It's fucking really easy to do. If you just like, you know, looking into other apps, it's just like I guess there's some other services that DocuSign has.
So basically, you're
you know,
saying
but
that you can sign your name as Dr. Dick Shit.
yeah,
Yeah,
like easily.
yeah. Honestly, I want to sign my name as Dr. Big Dingaling because I've never had a big dingaling in my life, and I want to know what it feels like.
I mean, if you make that your signature, then I mean, I can only imagine
true.
that you will understand.
It's legally bounding. It's legally bounding.
And the feeling will come. You will know.
Exactly.
You will then know what it feels like to have
If it
a big
doesn't
dick.
come, then it doesn't matter. I just have sex, and they're like, "Oh, you got a small dick." Oh, I point back and I say, "Well, I got a big dingaling. It's right there, written in ink. It's been proven off by DocuSign."
Do you say it was going to be Dr. Big Dingling?
Yeah, well, either way, I can have a doctorate, or just I would be completely suffice to have just a big dick. I don't care. Either way.
Yeah, I mean, with a signature, I mean, it really you can really kind of sign whatever you want. I mean, that's sort of the point of the signature, right? I mean,
Well, that's what I think my point is that I go back, whether it's a doctor or not. and say, hey, I had a big dick at this one point in time, and I'm pointing back to this legal evidence. It may not be big now, but it was back then. I can prove it.
Look at the signature.
Look at the signature. It's in blood right now. I'm not lying to you, but I may be lying to you. But at the same time, it's in documented signature.
And this is what we're going to teach those low-income housing kids.
Yeah, exactly.
You can be whatever you want.
But if you don't have a big dick, then go back to this.
This is how it could work out.
Right, because if you can't prove it, then it goes back.
Well, it's been a good podcast. really covered the whole spectrum of important subjects, I think.
No, you can't end the important subjects without having a big dick. I mean, that's all about that.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder. We were talking about like genetic modification.
Yeah,
earlier.
And big dicks. Yeah.
How do you? We were talking about like your general philosophy about like guns, but I'm wondering how that applies to genetic modification, because I've been watching this thing on Netflix. I'm almost done. I'm on the last episode of it, and it's put out a lot of like ideas of like how this shit could go really wrong, but also how it could go really right. And it could be like kind of like artificial intelligence. It could be like the savior of humanity, or it could be like the fucking end if we fuck up.
Yeah, if you're talking about guns, are we talking about guns?
No, now we're talking about genetic modification. I'm curious how you feel about that.
I don't even know.
Like if you have the same kind of mentality.
Genetic modification. What do you mean? Like give me an example. Like a unicorn?
That might be. I think there actually is. There is something kind of like that. I think there was like this fucking woolly mammoth kind of horse that was basically a unicorn. And I know.
Give me what like you guys whiff. Like on a normal situation, what the fuck is genetic modification to you?
Okay, so let's see, the most I guess like the simplest application would be like changing your eye color, right?
Okay.
That's like really basic kind of shit.
Okay.
On a more intense level,
weird.
What's actually happening is genetically modifying mosquitoes so that they, I guess it's like they don't reproduce anymore, and therefore you kill all the mosquitoes.
Nope, don't want that. I mean, I hate mosquitoes, don't get me wrong, but I'm smart enough to know that if you stop something from happening, then there's going to be a chain reaction. It's simple human shit. Like, if you stop something from happening, then, the ramifications of that, you don't want to know. So, mosquitoes suck, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But
killing lots of people in Africa.
Well, that's different. That's malaria. Are you talking about malaria, or what are we talking about?
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about stopping malaria. It's called a vaccination.
Right. See, that's what I started thinking about, because I mean, this coronavirus vaccine is like totally different from any other kind of vaccine that we've ever done before, and it's
fuck that. That's really what you should have started your question at, was what about the coronavirus vaccine? No, if you were trying to get into that, then no. This is the reality. Coronavirus has been going on for, I don't know, 9 months. And you're telling me that there's somebody smart enough to come up with a vaccine within 9 months?
Yeah, man.
Listen, I
Whole
call me
new
a
different kind of vaccine. It's like a totally different
yeah,
approach.
call me a dumbass. Don't know. Call me a dumbass. Don't know. But what polio, uh, smallpox, all that shit came up within years upon years. And you're telling me that you're so smart that you can come up with a vaccine within a couple of months? Get the fuck out of here. I have no idea. No
Well,
idea.
I don't necessarily doubt it. I mean, I understand. Like, for my understanding about technology and science right now is that we have been on an exponential growth trajectory,
That's great.
and
Great.
as computers become
Computers are great.
ridiculously
Computers are great.
better, and we've
So
got
you're telling me that you condense the polio vaccine within 10 years into 9 months because of a fucking computer? That's great. So stick that shit into a chimpanzee and tell me how they're doing in 10 years. That's what I want to know.
right, like yeah, and yeah, that's the argument for a lot of shit that's been sprung up, right? Like a lot of these chemicals that are being put into the atmosphere, used in agriculture, um,
Yeah,
or
fuck all that.
used in
You
our
want
housing products, or
yeah, okay. Yeah.
it's I feel the same way. It's like I want I don't want to be exposed in any kind of fucking way to anything that is not like well understood to be safe. So that's just not how shit is, man. And it sucks.
Yeah.
I really don't
I
like it.
mean,
And
so
the
here's how I'm
accountability of
gonna
it, the
break down.
transparency is just not there either.
Here's how I'm gonna break down the coronavirus. It sucks. It sucks for old people, especially if you have an underlying health issue. Yep, sucks for you. Sorry, you should probably get a vaccine. For people that are in their prime or people that are young, don't get a vaccine. I mean, shit, dude. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, yeah, a lot of people are getting the coronavirus. Yeah, you test positive. Okay, sucks for you. Sorry. But how many people are actually dying from it? I, you know,
It's like a pretty small number, right?
it is a small number, and it's a smaller number if you're under the age of 65. So, you know, I'm sorry that you lived a great life until 65, but yeah, you're kind of rolling the dice after 65. I'm so sorry for you. It would suck if it was me, but that's not me. So sorry.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything about like the latest, how many or like what is the mortality rate, right?
Well, it depends on what age group you're talking about.
So I'm looking this up right now, and I'm just getting the raw numbers. Let's see here. So cases, so yeah, cases in the U.S. right now, 13 million, deaths 263,000. Okay, so let's take that number 13, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, divided by 263K, right? Okay, 263, 1, 2, 3.
It's a percent.
Oh, I fucked this up. I went the wrong way. Okay, 0.02.
Mm-hmm. It's less than a percent.
Yeah, it's pretty small. Let's see, the
The
flu.
reality is that everybody wants us to be scared. Fine. We'll be scared. And
Now, what is a concern? I'm just looking at flu, and I'm reminded about what was it like last year? My buddy Zach was like dying from some kind of like pancreatitis, um, and like having multiple organ failure or some shit, just like really bad news.
Well,
The
that's the
four
reality.
the four closest hospitals were full because of flu.
Yep.
Like he had to, he lives in Charlottesville, but UVA was full, Martha Jefferson was full, VCU was full, and then one other fucking random hospital in Richmond, and then he found another one like a little further out in Richmond. But like, damn, dude, that was just the flu.
It's the
Like
same
had
shit,
that
dude.
huge effect.
It's still the flu.
Right. So basically, we just have like, in that perspective, it's like another flu, and like
Yeah.
that's just gonna be fucking shitty no matter what. I don't know
I mean,
how these fucking
the
hospitals.
reality is, it
do
is
the
the
shit.
flu. No one's gonna deny that. It is the flu. It's a different strain of flu, right? So can I combat this different flu? Well, no one's. How many times have you had the flu shot? Has that always worked? No. So there's
So
always a different type of flu. It doesn't fucking matter what it is. There's a different type of flu. This one, whether uncounted for, or who knows, or just the publicity of it. Swine flu, bird flu, it's the same shit, dude.
what's interesting about flu shots? So this
Never had a flu
coronavirus,
shot, by the way.
never. So you're pretty. Are you like pretty straight up anti-vaccines?
I wouldn't say I'm anti-vaccine, but with the flu, yeah, like smallpox and like all that shit, like whatever the flu shots were when you were a kid, got them. But like as an adult, no, I don't. It's called an immune system. I can't wrap my mind around it.
So these new vaccines are supposed to be like more than 90% effective, right?
Yeah,
How effective are flu vaccines?
no idea. That's like saying my dick is effective 95% of the time. I mean, I got my wife pregnant. Okay, 95% of the time, it's effective. But do you know what it's going to be in the long run? No idea. I've been testing this thing out. Literally, I've been testing my dick out for 9 months. So you're going to tell me what it's going to be like for the next 10 years? No idea. Again, simplify everything.
I have a friend that says the opposite. He says we need to embrace the complexity, and we need to make everything more complex. I really don't like the idea of that initially,
well,
or I
let's
didn't.
talk to your
When I
friend
first heard it.
then.
I was like, dude, fuck that. Like, I would love to just make things much more simple. He's like, well, and he had some really fucking. He's like a Taoist philosopher, so it's hard to really fully understand.
Well, that's fine. I mean, there's a lot of people that are smarter than me, but at the end of the day, all I'm saying is if you can't explain it to a seventh grader, or not even a seventh grader, somebody that's 7 years old, it's not worth it.
I mean, I appreciate that. I mean,
I'm a seventh grader, I'm dumb as shit. If you can't explain it to me, then,
I mean, because most concepts that like you introduce to somebody like a brand new concept, like they're probably going to have about that level of understanding initially. Like if you know, like you really, I mean, there was a course I took about marketing and communication, and they were saying basically in order to effectively communicate an idea, you have to repeat it at least like 3 times in different ways. You know, obviously, if you just say the same thing over and over again, you know, I'm just going to be like, okay, why are you repeating yourself? Like, I didn't get any new information from that. But you have to like come at things from different angles to make it ridiculously abundantly clear.
Let me say it this way. Whenever you're trying to pitch to somebody to actually make something worth something, you need to be able to explain it in a simple way. You can have the most complex idea in the world. Doesn't matter what you're doing. If you can't explain it to the person that actually has to make the decision, it doesn't fucking matter. So you can be the smartest person in the fucking room. And that's what I've always cherished, because I've never been the smartest person in the room. And
Are you peeing right now?
Yeah.
Nice.
And but they have to be able to explain it to the next person. That's all it's about.
Right, and that doesn't necessarily require you to be super intelligent, which is so interesting, right? It's like, what the fuck?
You don't.
You know, like
you just have to have the fucking idea. But the fun thing is, philosophically, you will never have the idea.
You lost me there.
Which part?
Philosophically you will never have the idea? What do you mean?
Because we're talking about race in a country, so there's no right idea.
There's no right idea? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, how do you mean? Like, somebody's always going to be able to argue the other side? Or?
Yeah, basically, there's no right idea in a country about race, because everybody always has some philosophical idea. So there's no absolute certainty. But there's always sides to the certainty.
Yeah, I've had this argument before, right? Like, you can't like say that you know anything, almost anything, like for absolute certain. Yeah, like you always have to, like, especially with like politics kind of shit. It's like if you weren't there, even if you were there, like you always have to hold some degree of distance from like just disregarding the possibility that you might be wrong. Like if you can't accept the idea you might be wrong, then like you're missing out on the potential truth, right? It's just the idea basically that like you got to keep an open mind, right? Always be open to new information.
No, listen.
Even if that means you're being proven wrong.
This is very much more simple. I'm telling you with the absolute fact that there's nobody that's going to agree upon an idea. That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
Yep. There's no argument for that. There's no argument, because no one's ever going to agree to an idea.
So, I mean, You can't find you lost your keys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got
Anyway, keep talking.
I've got 2 crickets in my room right now, hanging out.
Well, they sound
Good luck,
musical.
man.
Very musical.
You know, it's funny. I've not heard them once. Holy shit! There's the third one. Well, yeah. Okay, so you're saying no one's ever going to agree on an idea, which
Yep.
I mean, I disagree.
They don't. Well,
I mean, I think there's some things that people can agree
that's an
on.
open
for sure.
concept, but all right. Yeah, you may got me on that.
Well, if we were to go forward with that, I mean, how would you, ever, get anything done in a democracy, right? It's like you have to have, some degree of.
Nope.
It's like nobody's ever gonna like see 100% eye to eye, but at least there's gonna be some kind of compromise where you're like, okay, generally.
You know what's the funniest thing in my life? It has nothing to do with, well, kind of what we have to do with our conversation. Aaron, I am not a smart guy. I'm not. I have somewhat intelligence, but the only reason I'm successful in my life is because people listen to what I say. The only reason people listen to what I say is because I'm emphatic of what I say. It's the funniest thing in the fucking world is that if you say something in a certain way, people fucking believe you. And I'm not saying I'm like a fucking snake whisperer, but at the same time, it's honestly ridiculous. Like I can have somebody standing beside me just saying the same thing that I'm saying. But for whatever reason, just because I have, more of a personality than they do, they're going to listen to me. I have no idea what it means. I have no idea why it is. But it is what it is.
You should run for politics. You should run for office. And you'd be a great politician.
No.
Right? Isn't that what that means?
I don't know.
Isn't that your destiny? At that point, if that's your superpower, and people just believe what you say. I mean,
I'm not.
It sounds like it sounds like a good politician to me.
Not proud of it.
But then again, it could be that could be the kind of dangerous politician.
Yeah, exactly. Who would want to smoke weed all day and go to sleep?
That's my whole thing about this sort of this account that I made, corrupt politician. I want to put out there that like just about it's like all of these politicians, it's like you voted for them, they told you a story about themselves, and it's probably true, right? Yeah, their background and shit, but
Probably not.
at least pieces of it are probably true.
Okay.
But they ultimately, once they're in office, like, how do you know? But what I'm trying to say is, you do not know what is going on behind closed doors, or like in the majority of their lifetime. I like you have no idea who they're talking to. You have no idea what kind of threats they're getting, what kind of bribes they're getting. I mean,
it was the funniest shit because the only I guess politics I ever gotten into was at school, and I was literally I forget what class it was, but I guess it was politics or whatever in high school. And they're like, "Who's gonna run for class treasury?" And I literally got up there and verbatim, I said, "I think that you should vote for me because I got a B in algebra." Everybody voted for me. Everybody voted for me. And I remember the teacher going to me at lunch, and she was like, "Hey, you're gonna win class treasury, but I don't think you really want it, so I'm gonna give it to so and so because I don't really think that you were serious about it." And I was like, "Yep, that makes sense. Like, give it to so and so." She's like, "Okay." But like my point is that it's just a popularity contest. That's all it is. And I don't really feel like it's much different. But what we have going on right now, I really don't, because it's not about, it's funny. I was talking about this to somebody. I was like, I miss the good old days where they were just giving us empty promises. Like politicians were like, I'll do this with my term. I'll do this with my term. I'll do this with my term. Now it's like, oh, this guy is a fucking asshole. Like you don't want to do anything with him because he slept with his wife's cousin. Like you don't want to do anything with him. I'm like, God damn, dude. Just give me your empty promises. I don't care about the other guy. Just give me your empty promises.
So I feel like it, potentially, one way that we maybe could approach politics is like just throw out all that shit. It's like everybody's got dirty laundry. Everybody's, everyone is corruptible, right? You can't tell me one person on the planet. I'll take that back. Maybe there are some people who really have nothing to lose, right? They have no family, no loved ones at all, and you offer them $1 million, and they just
show their penis.
That's the other side of it. If they don't have anything to lose, I mean, you can't tell me that like money isn't necessarily going to appeal to them, right? So I say, let's just assume that everyone is corruptible because they are, and then put in the proper safeguards to make sure that like they're held accountable for like what their position actually stands. And for representatives, what is their job? They're supposed to represent the will of the people, right? So why not like hold them to that, and that's it. Let's take out all the time that they're able to, I don't know, call these rich donors, right, to ask them for money for their campaign finance. Like that shouldn't be in the equation at all. They should not be allowed to do that. Basically, I think like pretty much all they should be doing is all day, every day, just trying to get votes on subjects. Like whatever bill is being presented to Congress, all those Congress people, right, should just, instead of like sitting there fucking, calling whatever rich donor to, try to pitch this idea to them and then ask for a giant sum of money, it should just be like, hey, I'm working on creative programs to hear what the people that elected me are actually thinking about this thing, and I'm going to try to vote for their shit. Because we get phone calls, emails, and letters that we can mail in, and we're told that's how we're supposed to communicate with our congressperson, and that somehow is going to make a difference. but there's no accountability to that. How many letters came in? How many emails came in? How many phone calls? Where's that information?
Never thought about that.
There's a figure, and is this really factual or not? But so represent.us is this organization that is working on this Anti-Corruption Act, right? And in one of their videos, they talk about you got any bill as an example that's going through the House or Congress or whatever. Let's say you have 100% support from the public for that bill. Every single person miraculously supports this thing. There's a 30% chance that that bill will get passed. Now, let's say same bill, 0% of the public supports that. There's a 30% chance that that bill will get passed. Now, if you have special interests, let's say the wealthiest 1% or 0.1% and they're lobbyists, if they 100% support it, you've got maybe like a 50-60% chance that it'll get passed. If they have 0% support, if they do not want it to happen, it doesn't fucking happen. That bill does
so
not
you're
go through.
supporting my idea of an oligarchy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, but you acted like you didn't know what it meant, but
Wait, when you as far as like the definition of it, just that term in the moment, I was like, I don't fucking know. But yeah, no, this whole lobbyists and what is it, Citizens United? I mean,
listen,
I have a lot to learn, but
Dan,
from what I know, it's bullshit.
I have to dumb down a lot of things just for me. I'm a simple guy. Democracy is great. I wholeheartedly believe in democracy. But what has happened is that the rich people in our democracy are supplying what democracy used to be.
Is that the rich people are supplying the democracy you see?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the Anti-Corruption Act right now, and just all the things that they're proposing to do. And it's like, stop donors from hiding behind secret money groups. It's like the fact that we have to bring that up is absurd. I'm like, how the fuck did we get to the point where we have to say that?
Listen, dude, we live behind so many rich people. It's ridiculous. And I mean, if you look at it in one way, it's a good thing. I mean, we've produced a lot of rich people, which is great because we have a country that is condoned to that. But at the same time, I don't want the guy that's sucking on the gutter to be like, okay, I can be a millionaire right now. But I feel like there is a happy medium.
What do you think that looks like?
Taxing the shit out of the wealthy.
So you're in support of like Biden's idea?
Kinda.
What was it? I mean, it sounded pretty good to me, honestly. I mean, what was it, like anybody making over $400,000 gets a
Yeah.
gets a tax increase?
Yep.
Like, I don't even know anybody that makes four, like, personally.
I know, right?
Like, my brother
It's
is
like,
killing it. He is a nurse anesthetist, right? He makes
yeah,
he makes six figures, I think he makes, maybe somewhere close to 100, 150, somewhere in that range. 150K tops, you know. And then it's like, that's pretty fucking good. That's like you made it, you know.
yeah,
You make $100,000 a year, you fucking did it, dude. Like, way to fucking go. 400,000? Like, you're living a lavish fucking life. Like, you have no problems. Like, you do not have money problems unless you like are a psychopath and you fucking just like spend money like an absolute moron. Then you're in trouble. But otherwise, you are fucking good to go for life.
that's my point.
So I'm
That
like,
is
yeah,
my
dude, tax
point.
the fuckers, tax the shit out of those people. I really hope so, man. I hope that really happens. I don't know if it could though, right? Because it's got to pass Congress, and Congress is, it's like mostly Republican right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're not gonna fucking let that shit slide. But I'd be curious what the majority of Americans think, right? Because I mean,
All I know is, and I mean, it's hard to say because you know I don't make 400,000 a year, but at the same time, like what what's so crazy to me is that I thought about this so much. Do you ever know the idea of tithing?
yeah, it's like you like 5% of your check you give to charity.
Yeah, you give to the church. It amazes me that all the people that are doing that are conservative. So it's just like it's baffling to me. I'm like, wait. So you're saying that you give a tenth of your pay to the church, but you're saying that when it comes to liberal policy, that you don't want to pay additional taxes for the benefit of everybody else. I'm like, oh, okay. So,
Or that you don't want rich people, like like, let's say your taxes stay the same, but anybody making, that guy making $500,000, no, don't increase his taxes. Do not. He needs as much money as he can get, but I will spend a big chunk of my money on something that, I mean, obviously it does have some return for them, right? Their church, that's like some people's whole life centered around that, right? But ultimately, it's like, yeah, you're
no, I'm not.
it's just taking that to more of an extreme, right? It's like,
Yeah, I'm not discounting what they're doing. I'm just saying you realize that Jesus is a liberal, right? I mean, that's essentially what it is. Is okay. Jesus is telling you to put a tenth of your spending into church. What is the difference in spending more in taxes? Oh, that's liberalism. That's socialism. Okay, well, I guess Jesus is a socialist. All right, cool.
yeah, well, I mean, I think about, like, him as basically like a almost a contrarian to ideas about money in the church also. Right? Like his I believe it was his only act of violence was to throw out bankers that were like trying to set up some kind of shop in the church.
Yeah, I can see that.
So yeah, I mean, when you look at, I yeah, I don't know enough about the Bible really. I was actually hoping to talk with some folks on our podcast about some of these things because I have a lot of questions. You know, I feel like I could talk to, you know, just about anybody, and like really, I mean, what it comes down to, what it comes back to, is like this anti-corruption policy kind of shit, right? Like, I feel like these kind of conversations need to happen with as many people as possible to start to play out these scenarios, like have the debate. And like what I want to know right now is like, is this one, is this really what's going on? You know, what this like Represent Us organization is attacking, right? Like, is this really the current state of things? And then if so, what is the justification? Like, how has it been framed? And you know, is there like, what is the good argument for it, right? How do we actually justify this and really give it a good shot? You know, I want to get all of the information for why we actually need these policies. You know, what is the really legitimate case for these things, and then start to, you know, pull in this stuff of like, you know, because right as of this point, it's all just like, you know,
Conjecture.
these broad claims, or these action items, like, hey, this is what we need to do. It's like, okay, that's the conclusion of a lot of thinking and talking and research that I have not done. I need to catch up. But it's the thing about politics, that's why it's like, it's fucking rich people, man. Like, I don't have fucking time for that shit. I gotta work, dude. I gotta try to fucking make money. You know? Like, that's a lot of fucking research. That's a lot of like talking with people and reading all sorts of shit. And you know, like, and then if I make some headway with that, right? Let's say I learn all this shit and I figure it all out, right? And all of a sudden I have this great idea, right? Or I support this thing that has some momentum. I could theoretically, I could spend my whole life pushing for this shit and then like not make a dime on it, right? Even though I'm doing it full time. And then I could still lose that argument. That's why it's fucking rich people in politics. Because they can afford to just like do this shit without the fear of having to continue to support their family or their livelihood. They can just like, oh, okay, fucking, just gonna do this. Just gonna campaign for 5 months, spend all my money on it, and if I lose, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
So we gotta find another way to campaign, dude. I think I need to get famous on YouTube and Twitch through my podcast.
Yeah.
And then just be like, I don't even want to be a representative, dude. I just want the people to be heard. And then we create a new world government based off of that.
I think like people should probably suck my dick.
That's that really. I mean, I don't know, man. You apparently have the silver tongue.
Oh,
People
shut up.
believe whatever you say.
I wouldn't say that.
If you say it, they'll do it, man.
Oh, okay.
Now, is
Let
it?
them come. Let them come.
You watching TV right now? What is that in the background?
Yeah, I have no idea. I think it's Sports Center.
Oh, dude, I don't watch sports like at all. I watch a lot of movies with my mom though.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a lot.
You watch any good movies lately? I
Yeah.
watched some Hillbilly. It was called Hillbilly something. It was on Netflix. It was good.
Here, so you've got what is this one? Hunt. What is that? What it's called? Hunt for the Wilder People. Have you seen that?
No.
It's pretty hilarious. That was all about it. That was. I saw that maybe like a week or two ago. I've seen probably like, I don't know, 8 movies since then, and that one sticks out in my mind. You should check that one out.
Check it
I've
out.
also been watching a lot of Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Ooh. It shouldn't.
I've never, I always had friends watching it, sort of like in the background. Occasionally we'd be hanging out, and that just like never got into it. And now I'm just like fucking every day, dude. It's part of my routine. It's like a fucking multivitamin. I need it for my health. Cool. All right, man. Well, I think I'm gonna cut the stream.
Cut the stream.
3, 2,